Hello, everybody. Good morning. Happy Sunday to everybody. Happy Sunday. And welcome to today's episode, this week's episode of Sunday School Interaction Series. And let me pin. Yeah, Rare Luxury. Thank you for joining on Instagram. Thank you. And I just want us to talk about today's episode is titled Classism and Racism. For those who know me personally, you know that I do not stand back and watch people suffer, you know. Even though it's not like maybe I'm a messiah or anything like that, but I will not stand by and watch oppression happen. Yeah. So, which is one of the reasons why I felt like we should have this discussion around classism and racism. So, as you join us, kindly just drop a comment. Let me know that you're here, and let me know where you're joining from. As you know, this is the sixth episode. This is the sixth episode of the Sunday School Interaction Series, and the Sunday School Interaction Series happens every Sunday. Yeah, every Sunday by 11 a.m. And the goal is to have this interactive discussion that around this subject, whatever subject matter of that particular episode. But today we are talking about classism and racism, and by virtue of who I am, by virtue of someone who loves to get to the root of matters, root of issues. I see a lot of people functioning with a certain level of ignorance, yeah, and because of that, I decided that I'm going to be doing this, so that we can enlighten ourselves, educate ourselves. And like the subject title it is Sunday School Interaction Series. So feel free to interact. If you have any contrary opinion, feel free to let me know. I mean, I welcome all opinions, and then let us reason together, right? Let us interact. Let us discuss it. And so today's title is Classism and Racism, and the first thing I want to talk about is the origin of class in Africa. The origin of class in Africa. And it's one of the major reasons why there is this dichotomy that exists between the oppressed and the oppressor. Yeah, the oppressor and the oppressed. Yeah, it's basically because of the concept of class. And back in the day, what was existence? The economic structure that was, or system that was in existence in Africa, was communalism. Yeah. The highest authority were the kings and the chiefs. Yeah. And the economic relevancy of any community was determined by the community infrastructure, the community system in that community. So you find that what was existence in Africa was communalism. Well, I'll talk about the other economic systems shortly. But when we talk about class, really, we are talking about economics. We're talking about economic class. We're talking about the different hierarchies of the echelons of economics. We're talking about the different controlling segments of the economic pyramid in code. Yeah, that's what we mean by class. Yeah, and we're going to be talking about the different class concept and um, break it down how that certain people exist in certain classes, and for as long as they are in that particular class, for as long as they exist in that particular class, they will they will not be able to they will not be able to manifest a certain level of economic destiny. Yeah, for as long as they exist in that class and they are in that class, they're not going to be able to manifest certain economic destiny. Now, the concept of class in Africa can be explained this way. In every non-socialist society, we now live in an economically powered world. The inspiration for global economics is capitalism. Yeah, because capitalism is the predominant system, yeah, in America, and America being the world's watchdog, every other country want to copy the world's watchdog, right? So but in every non-socialist society, aka or e.g. a capitalist society, there are two main categories of class, which are the ruling class and the ruling class or classes, because nowadays there are multiple ruling classes. The ruling class or classes, or the subject class or classes. Now, the ruling class possesses the major instruments of economic production and distribution, and the means of establishing its political dominance, while the subject class serves the interest of the ruling class. They serve the interest of the ruling class. And the subject class is politically, economically, and socially dominated by the ruling class. Yeah. Now, you need to understand that a class is nothing, more than the sum total of individuals bound together by certain interests, which as a class, they try their best to preserve and protect. Okay, that is basically the definition of a class. Folks who come together with certain bounding interest or binding interest, and then their job is to ensure that they preserve and protect that interest. That's what makes a class. Yeah. Now, every form of political power, whether parliamentary, you know, multi-party, whether it is a one-party political power, system, or an open military dictatorship, like we've seen in Nigeria, once upon a time, reflects the interest of a certain class or classes in society. Okay, you need to understand the the fundamental concept of classism. Yeah. And in socialist states, the government represents workers and the poor, workers and peasants. And in capitalist states, the government represents the exploiting class or the ruling class. Those are the fundamental difference between a socialist society and a capitalist society. The socialist society exists to represent the workers. I mean, without people who are putting in ingenious labor, creative labor in any particular society, that society is going to experience maybe anarchy. That society is not going to experience prosperity, you know, no doubt. That's that kind of society, because what powers any economy is production. What powers any economy are the individuals who are doing something, who are offering something to the economy, the producers, the workers. Those are the people that fundamentally powers any economy. Without their input in the economy, there's not gonna be prosperity. Not gonna be a thriving economy. There's not gonna be a prosperous economy. So, the concept of socialism is a concept that exists to protect those who are working in the economy, those who are working to ensure that becomes robust, the economy becomes functional, the economy eventually leads to prosperity for all. Yeah, that is a socialist economy. Yeah. So the socialist economy basically is an economy that encourages fairness, that encourages equity, that encourages justice, equity, and distribution of the commonwealth. Yeah. But the capitalist economy encourages the gap, encourages the gap, the wealth gap, between the populace. Yeah, where there is wealth concentration to a particular few, and like they say, the top 10%, the top 1%, the top 0.1%. Yeah, are usually the ones controlling a lump sum of the commonwealth, like 1% controlling the 97% of the wealth, or 1% controlling 87% of the wealth, or 1% controlling 65% of the wealth, that kind of thing. Yeah, that is, the reality that is birthed by capitalism. Now, I am not entirely anti-capitalism, because capitalism in a way gives opportunity for a peasant who is visionary and who can match up their vision with work ethic to permanently escape peasantry, permanently escape poverty. Now, the style of capitalism is what I style of capitalism in the world right now. I do not support it, but that fundamental concept of capitalism, whereby somebody can come from nothing and be visionary and adopt work ethic, and adopt understand the concept of power networking, and be able to make a fantastic, fascinating life for themselves. Now, I know that the concept of capitalism, that we have, that was powered by America, the foundation of that capitalism was slavery, no doubt. Did you know that the first stock that was traded in the New York Stock Exchange was black slaves? So we cannot erase history. What happened happened. The foundation of the capitalism that exists in the world right now was slavery. But I'm talking about the concept of freely exploring possibilities. Now, back to what I was talking about. So I said that every form of political power, whether parliamentary, multi-party, one-party, or open military dictatorship, reflects the interest of a certain class or classes in the society. In socialist states, the government represents workers and peasants, while in capitalist states, the government represents the ruling class, the exploiting class. The state, as it is right now, nationhood as we have it in the world right now, is the expression of the domination of one class over the other classes. Now, let me quickly identify or enumerate the classes. The lowest are the peasants, those who call the poor. The peasants. The peasants are folks who cannot fend for themselves, who are not able to meet their basic needs. They are struggling to meet their basic needs. Those are the poor, the poverty class, more or less, the peasant class. The next class are the proletariats, the employees, the wage earners, the salary earners, those who are earning the least salary, like they say, the minimum wage. Those are the proletariats. They are the proletariats, the minimum wage earners. Those in this day and time, where the equivalent of $1 to naira is 7.12 or 7.15 or whatever, 7.10. Some people's salary in a 30-day period is 30,000 naira. Some is even 20,000. Some 40,000. Those are proletariat. That's the second hierarchy of the the class hierarchy, the class and pyramid. Second hierarchy, the proletariat. The next are the so-called middle class, yeah, the bourgeoisies. And there are two types of middle class: the lower class, who are called the petit bourgeoisies, bourgeoisies, and then the upper middle class, the bourgeoisies, the upper middle class, yeah. Now the lower middle class are the farmers, the small traders, the artisans, the dealers of imported goods, the distributors of imported goods. Those are the lower middle class. The upper middle class are the established traders, the tradesmen, the top civil servants, the compradors, in those we call compradors, the managers or senior employees of foreign enterprises, the entrepreneurs, the professional and managerial classes. These are the upper middle class. And then the final class are the traditional rulers, those of the royal class, the ruling class, the royal class, the traditional rulers, the chiefs, the emirs. These are the different classes that exist. Now we know that in modern day, in modern age, we know that there is, we want to say that there is a religious class, yeah, that belongs to the ruling class. But the truth of the matter is, religion is the back is the back end class, is the background class that controls all these other classes. Now a lot of people confuse classism with racism. A lot of people confuse classism with racism. Now, during colonialism, we'll find that the Europeans sold us religion, right? And but in actual reality, they were selling us their culture in the place of religion, disguised as religion, right? They were trying to use religion to sell us their culture, which is race. They were trying to adopt us into their culture, right? They were trying to, paint a picture of superiority, that their culture is superior to ours, or their culture is more enlightened than ours, and things like that. These are the screens that has blurred the lines between classism and racism. Now, classism is an economic tool. Racism is a cultural tool. If you don't understand this concept of classism, you will find you will if you don't understand this concept of classism, you will find that you are mistaking classism and racism. And whichever that you are wielding as your fundamental, or as your principal instrument for navigating your economic, path, your economic journey, at the end of the day, you are going to find out that you're going to end up in a place of frustration. Now, the essence of class is so you can know where you are, economically speaking. I tell people that all of these stories that I've said, it all boils down to money. It all boils down to economics. And if you understand that even religion at its foundation is economy, is economic religion, you will know that at the end of the day, you are expected to power what is called a personal economic revolution. We'll get there. So you need to understand that there's a fundamental difference between classism and racism. And if you as an individual do not understand this fundamental difference, you are going to be a puppet of the ruling class. Yeah, Mr. Emeka, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So you're going to be a puppet. Now, fundamentally, what I advocate for is personal economic revolution. As important as all these systems are, as important as all these castes are, as important as all these classes are, What's important to you as an individual is that you are powering a personal economic revolution. You are trying your best to ensure that you are right on top of your own personal economics. If you are not in charge of your own personal economics, one thing is sure, you are going to be a puppet of another person who is in charge, who maybe have created a particular economic structure, and then they are using you as a puppet to help them service that structure, service that system, or build that system. So it's important for you to know that there's a difference between classism and racism. Classism part time is economics. Classism part time is are the economic structures in place, economic systems that people have set up. Human beings set up these systems. It wasn't God that came down to set it up. It was human beings that set them up. And most of the systems set up by human beings have ulterior motives behind them. So you can as well know in advance. So per time, if you are not personally economically aware, if you have not acquired personal economic literacy, if you have not become someone who who has gained a certain level of economic enlightenment, economic education, you are going to be a puppet of other human beings. It is guaranteed. You're going to be an economic puppet of systems built by human beings who are not more intelligent than you are. So if you as an individual do not understand classism, it's high time you paid attention to it. There is no reason why you should have a brain and you should have a mind and you should be and then be an economic puppet of someone else. But time you should be someone who is displaying or demonstrating a certain economic influence, a certain economic power. Per time. See, there is no way I'm going to be a puppet, economic puppet to anything or to anyone or to any system. If I meet any individual, I already function at a certain level of economic literacy, economic enlightenment. Because I've subdued myself to understanding local economic dynamics, global economic dynamics. So, and I'm always, educating myself on an ongoing basis. I'm always educating myself about the way the game of economics is played, both locally and globally. So the more enlightened I become, economically speaking, the more economically powerful I become. The more I can bring economic power to anybody's table, to any system, to the table of any system or structure. So I'm not going to be a puppet. Once upon a time, I was a puppet, no doubt. I mean, I didn't have anyone who could teach me about, economic literacy or financial literacy or anything like that. And our schools, the curriculum in our schools was not designed to help us gain economic literacy. It wasn't designed that way. Yeah. So for most parts, most individuals, more especially in developing countries, in developing worlds, even in advanced nations, really, how much more developing world, most individuals, the onus is on them as individuals to proactively get themselves economically enlightened, economically educated. The onus is on individuals. And of course, the smartest thing any family can do is, more especially maybe the leaders of those families, the heads of those families, the smartest thing they can do for their family is to either by themselves get educated and get enlightened, economically speaking, so that they can educate the members of their family, or they bring someone, they organize, they organize themselves and bring someone who can help teach them about economic literacy, take them through the process of becoming economically literate. If you're not proactively getting your hands on the information that will lead you to an impressive economic destiny, an impressive economic destination, you are going to be the one to suffer for it. It's just that simple. So if you don't understand these different, I say that you are of the peasant class, you are of the poverty class. If in a year you are not able to make up to $1,000 a year, $1,000. If you are not able to make up to $1,000 a year, you are poor. You belong to the poor class, poverty class. You belong to the peasant class. But the beautiful thing about the age that we live in, the age powered by the internet, is that you can determine the class you function in. Why do you think the the Queen of England knights certain people who didn't come from the the royal class, the so-called royal class, who didn't come from the bourgeoisie? Some even came from the poverty class. Yet, because of certain accomplishments that brought about that positively influenced the economic infrastructure, that positively influenced the economy, whether a local economy or the global economy, you find that the Crown of England invites them to be knighted, right? That's because they see that even though this person came from the peasant class, even though this person came from the proletariat class, this person have been able by themselves, able to transcend the peasant class. They've been able to transcend the proletariat class. you know, the wage earning class. They've been able to transcend it. They've been able to pivot it. It's really important that we understand these different classes so that we can ask ourselves, what will it take to move to that next class? What will it take to move to the upper class? What will it take? Ethically speaking, what will it take? Now, you see, I'm one person who does not like to concern myself with these classes per se. As important as they are, I try my best to function with the universal classless principles. Because by the time I'm putting classes on myself, I'm putting a ceiling on how far I can go. Even though I know that when you are just starting your exploring your or marshalling your economic destiny, it's important for you to have this understanding of these pre-existing classes. But you want to tell yourself that I do not want to subscribe to limitation. I do not want to subscribe to any kind of limitation. Yeah. So as you understand and master this economic journey, this, the requirement for marshalling your economic destiny, for marshalling the paths that will lead you to your economic destiny, depending on what you want out of life, you will get to the point where you are no longer going to be operating based on the ground rules, in quote, of this economic of these classes. You are going to be operating with a more noble principle, a principle that is universal, a principle that does not place any kind of limitation on you, economically speaking, culturally speaking, geographically speaking, politically speaking. You're able to marshal yourself to a particular status that people wonder how you were able to arrive at. That is the essence of this particular episode. That yes, be aware of the different classes that exist. We have the political class, we have the religious class, we have the entrepreneurial class. Now we now have billionaires, entrepreneurs who are billionaires, who literally who literally control even the ruling class. You see, but it wasn't like that before. It wasn't like that before. The entrepreneurs were part of the upper class. They were part of the bourgeoisies. They were part of the bourgeoisies. Yeah. But nowadays we see um we see a new kind of economic class where entrepreneurs are now billionaires, who are now the ones controlling the economy, where technocrats are now billionaires, who are now the ones controlling the global economics, who are now the ones influencing the redefinition of cultural castes, cultural systems, influencing, albeit negatively, cultural systems, economic systems. So we now live in an age of decentralized everything, heavy decentralization. So, you know, understanding the foundation or the history or the origin of classism and even racism is important. But you need to know that, as important as those are, you are not supposed to allow them place a limitation on your economic destiny. With this, the advent of the internet age, with the advent of the information age, with the advent of the social media age, we are now in an age of decentralized economy, decentralized wealth, decentralized commerce. You can organize yourself in such a way that you would eventually get to a position of economic relevancy. People will see you as a force, an economic force to be reckoned with as an individual. You could set a decade-long target for yourself. You could set a 2-decade-long target, 20 years. That, okay, between now and the next 20 years, I want to become a billionaire. Between now and the next 30 years, I want to become a billionaire. Between now and the next 40 years, I want to become a billionaire. And then you break down the 40 years into small pellets. What are the things you're expected to do in that 40 years? What are the things you're expected to do in that 30 years to make that vision or that goal a reality after 30 years? What are the things you're supposed to do on a daily basis? If you as an individual do not understand these class requirements, and like I said, everything boils down to economics. Everything boils down to economics. Why you are a peasant is because you're not even able to make you're not able to make enough money to cater for your own self, your own basic needs. Basic needs. What are the basic needs? Food, shelter, clothing, the ability to move from one place to another, transportation, food, shelter, clothing, transportation. Those are basically the 4 basic needs. You want to be able to move from one place to another. If you are going to make money, it's either you are going from one place to another, or maybe you have a shop, you have a stationary location where people come to meet you to trade with you. Yeah. So feeding, housing, clothing, and transportation are the 4 basic needs every human being must meet rather. If you're not able to meet those needs, something is wrong. It basically means that you are poor. It basically means that you belong to the peasant class, you belong to the poverty class. And like I said, in this age of decentralized everything, it is absolutely possible for you to pivot that class. It is absolutely possible, and there are several things you can do, which I won't be able to mention in this class. But we every Wednesday we have weekly social media family meeting where we are dedicated. It's that webinar is dedicated to entrepreneurship, making money, how to make more money. So be on the lookout for the Wednesday episode, the coming Wednesday episode of the social media family meeting. Here we talk about how to explore spirituality, explore your soul, how to pivot oppression of any kind, economic oppression, religious oppression, even cultural oppression, how to become independent, how to become an independent thinker, how to become an independent spiritual explorer. Yeah, those are the things we're talking about. And I know that this racism, this classism and racism is important because a lot of people. Samika says box is another term for class. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But in a way, like the definition I gave, about class, that class is nothing more than the sum total of individuals bound together by certain interests, which as a class they try to preserve and protect. Yeah. The truth of the matter is you will never achieve greatness alone. You can achieve independence alone, but you'll never achieve greatness alone. It is absolutely impossible for you to achieve greatness alone, meaning that you need people. You need the collaborative efforts and input of other human beings. But the issue with a lot of people who do not have ethical foundation is that eventually maybe they might start those groups, those clubs or whatever, from a noble ground, noble standing. Eventually they pivot to become a tyrannical group who have now become the new oppressors. So that is usually the issue. But when you are human oriented, yeah, you are the principles that powers all that you do are universal. You are going to be able to chaperone you're going to be able to chaperone the grouping thing, the concept of, like, cultism, for instance. It's just, people of like minds coming together. I'm not saying occultism, even occultism, but I'm saying cultism, because there can be a cult of entrepreneurs. Yeah. There can be a cult of lawyers. Yeah. But the issue is that all of these terms, we have been programmed to attach negative connotation to them. Winston says animal farm syndrome. Yeah, we've been programmed to attach negative connotation to them. So we think that the term cult means evil, whereas it's not. It's just a group of people coming together, around a central theme, around a central purpose, around a central cause that they want to marshal together. Because one is too small in number to achieve greatness. Yeah. So you need more than yourself to achieve greatness. Yeah. But when the individuals who come into those groups are not interested in the collective uplifting of the people, then they are selfish, and they become oppressors. They want to oppress other people. They're not interested in the rising, the collective rising of the people. They're only interested in themselves being at the top of the pyramid. So that's when oppression emanates and all of that. Now, the crux of the matter, the important theme of this particular episode is that you as an individual, because of the ceiling that has been destroyed, the economic ceiling that has been destroyed by technology, you as an individual must power what is called a personal economic revolution. And understand that, fundamentally speaking, the most important component of economic revolution or personal economic revolution is land. All of this slavery, all of this colonization that happened for centuries, were because of one purpose and one purpose only: for land grabbing. I mean, they said that the British Crown owns two-thirds of Canada. Europe literally owns almost all of Africa. Legally speaking, based on certain documents. So that's why they would keep controlling Africa. But you see, yes, politically speaking, there might be political documents that claims that, Europe owns, or Europe and America, and maybe China is now even part of them, with all the loans that they have given us and all of that. politically speaking, there might be documents that says that, oh, Europe owns Africa. But as an individual African, you can marshal a personal economic revolution. It is possible that despite the treaties, despite the pacts that have been signed between ignorant, you know, um, African political leaders with these oppressors, these foreign oppressors, you can still marshal your own economic destiny, your own personal economic destiny. You are not supposed to allow yourself to be limited by what was signed in 1914 or what was signed in 1958 or what was signed in 1992 or what was signed in 2003, whatever. The internet technology or technology in general is a major global disruptor. If you can acquaint yourself with the fundamental operational strategies of technology, you can marshal and power a personal economic revolution. Where even though, and when you can successfully power a personal economic revolution, you can as well power a family economic revolution. Where you are now economically independent, you now begin to empower members of your family. You begin to empower folks who live in your neighborhood. You begin to economically empower folks who live in your city, in your district, in your region. But it begins with personal economic revolution. See, if you are someone who have transcended maybe poverty, maybe just earning a salary once a month or earning a wage, if you're someone who have been able to get to the middle class, and then you don't end there, a lot of people end at the middle class. Because see, if you end at the middle class, you are susceptible to fall back to poverty. You must keep striving to become financially and economically free, financially and economically independent for life. I have a mathematical way of calculating financial freedom. If you're interested in knowing that, just send me a DM. I can help you. I can show you how to calculate your financial freedom. Get that figure, your financial freedom figure. I think I've done a couple of I did a live once to explain that. So you can scroll down you can type financial freedom in hashtag financial freedom, to search for it, So there's a way you can even calculate your financial freedom figure. You can know it in advance. You can know it if it's going to take you 30 years, then so be it. If it's going to take you 40 years for you to achieve financial freedom, then so be it. But with technology, it's possible for you. You can dedicate just a decade, just 10 years, 15 years to achieving financial freedom. And it's so doable, even less than 10 years. I know folks who achieve financial freedom in 7 years. From the very first time they calculated their financial freedom, 7 years, they achieved financial freedom. Financial freedom, the achievement of financial freedom. Financial freedom means that if you don't work a day again for the rest of your life, you are never going to beg for food. You're never going to beg for house rent. You're never going to beg for money to clothe yourself. You're never going to beg for money to transport yourself from point A to point B. If you don't work again for the rest of your life, that's what it means to be financially free. That's what it means to hit financial freedom, economic and financial freedom. That's what it means. So you don't, with the advent of technology, I know that the controllers of technology are the new oppressors, no doubt. But the truth is, I don't care if they are the new oppressors, so long as I can use what they created to create wealth for myself, to create wealth for myself and my family members, to create wealth for my clan, to create wealth for my people. I don't care. So long as there is some kind of economic equity on I don't care. I will use those tools because per time, there is no economic relevancy without tools. So technology is nothing but tools. Technology is nothing but tools. You need to understand that. If you don't understand that, then you are going to be shortchanging yourself. You are going to be living below your potential. The greatest catastrophe ever experienced by humanity is unfulfilled potentials. Unfulfilled potentials. So per time, understanding the times that we now live in, you know that you should not be one of those people that will be complaining about bad governance. You should not be one of those people. If you are one of those people, then you are shortchanging yourself. You are never going to live to your highest potential if you are one of the complainers. For instance, I'm a Nigerian. I live in Nigeria. I know how clueless the political class are. The members of the political class. The majority of them, if not all of them, are clueless as to how to power a robust economy, a prosperous economy. But you see, you won't find me come on social media to be complaining about the politicians in Nigeria. You won't find me do that. What I'm going to be doing is focusing my resources, my time resource, my energy resource, my intellectual resource, my money, focusing on how to proactively multiply them, because these are resources. While some people are using their data to initiate political complaints, I'm using my data to initiate economic mastery, spiritual mastery. Because I know that once you become spiritually independent, spiritually aware, spiritually mature, you definitely can power economics. You can power your economic destiny. It is just what it is. You need to understand that even religion is economics. It's called economic religion. If there is no money involved, religion will disappear. If money is not involved in religion, forget it. It's going to disappear. You're not going to see people wanting to become pastors or emirs or alfas or popes. If money was not involved, forget it. Religion is just going to disappear out of the face of the earth. But it's economics. So you need to understand that everything is economics. Everything is economics. So if you as an individual are not economically literate, economically educated, the joke is on you, man. The joke is on you. The joke is on you. So the onus is on you to become economically literate, economically and financially educated, economically and financially literate, that you can become economically and financially free. It's pretty important that you understand. Winston, thank you so much for joining, all the way from Jamaica. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you. So yeah, that is what this episode is about. Understand the different classes that exist. Understand the concept of racism is even economics. It's nothing but economics. Understand that religion is economics. Everything is economics. So by the time you go to the foundation of economics, you are no longer going to be a puppet of religion, of so-called superior races who are actually inferior race to us as Africans anyways. You're not going to be a puppet of classes. You are going to be either a valuable asset to all of them, or you are going to stand alone as an economic authority. That is the goal. That is the goal. Don't squander your resources complaining about the bad government, complaining about the technocrats that are controlling the world. Do they have two brains? No. Why are you not doing something that would turn you into a force of nature, a force of life, a force of the universe, an economic force to be reckoned with? Why are you complaining? You're wasting energy. You're wasting energy resource. You're wasting your data complaining about it on social media. Rather, focus on deploying your resources for powering your economic destiny. Because once you are an economic authority, you can influence change. You can influence massive change. You can influence change in your family. You can influence change in your neighborhood. You can influence change in your community. You can influence change in your city. You can influence change in your state. You can influence change, positive change in your nation. You can influence change in your region. You can influence change in your continent. You can influence change in the world. Look at the billionaires. They are literally dictating for third world countries. Billionaires, Bill Gates and co. They're literally dictating for third world countries. So what's stopping you? You shouldn't allow anything stop you. Technology is a huge disruptor. It has come to disrupt the economic status quo. The onus is on you to acquaint yourself with the elements of technology. See technology as a tool and use it to war your way to your economic destiny. It is what it is. It is what it is. So do we have any questions? Do we have any questions? Any question? Any question? Any question? Before we call it a wraps for this episode, do we have any question? Do we have any suggestion? Do we have any any addition? Do we have any subtraction? Question, question, question. This is strictly about spiritual and soul maturity, and I chose to have this discussion. I chose to have this discussion or this particular episode because I know that this is something that is holding a lot of people to ransom. And so long as people can get their hands on information, they can declare game over to the oppressors. At least personally, maybe collectively we are unable to declare game over to the oppressors, but personally you can declare game over to the oppressors, right? So that is what this is about. So Samika says no question. Okay, no problem. So if there's no other question, then I'm going to be ending this live within the next couple of seconds. So take care of yourselves, everyone. For those of you who joined late, watch the rebroadcast, and if you have any question, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to answer them. So have a beautiful week. Ensure that you're in control of this week. And I'm a holistic entrepreneurship coach. So if you need any help when it comes to entrepreneurship or taking your business to the next level, you know that I'm the one to contact here. So take care of yourselves, guys. See you next week Sunday by 11 a.m. And we have a very, very interesting topic to discuss next week. So make sure you have a date with us and be here by 11 a.m. West African time. That's GMT +1. For those who are joining from other parts of the world. So take care of yourselves, guys. Peace. And I salute